All right. Well, I think I told you this before, but I first learned the book of Revelation. So I became a Christian when I was 16. That was like at the end of April. And that summer, the youth group that I was going to where I became a Christian, the youth pastor decided to do Revelation, which was hilarious. None of us knew anything else about the Bible at all, hardly, but we were somehow learning Revelation. And I don't think it really had the effect that my youth pastor was hoping that it would, mostly because as he taught us about the book of Revelation, now he didn't just go through it kind of like I'm going through it. He just did the big sweeping things. I think all of us pretty much, all of the high schoolers, the teenagers there, we all pretty much came away with one thought. I hope Jesus doesn't come back before I get married. That was the one thing we really took away from the book of Revelation. All right, was we sort of want to have the enjoyable things in life before all the bad stuff happens that's written about here in the book of Revelation. Now, I actually have kind of felt that way sort of sense, not only in my own life, but it sometimes feels like in the church. That folks who will read the book of Revelation really be into the dates and is this happening now, and we're bombing Iran, and Israel's bombing Iran, and Iran is sending missiles and rockets to Israel and all that kind of stuff. And we look at what is happening and people who are really get into that, and is this the end times? Is Jesus going to come back into our lifetime? I have always been a little bit uncomfortable with it because it typically will come from people who are just, I think, worn out with other people. And they see all the different evil and the things that they don't like in the world, and they wish that Jesus would just come back. Now, I'm not really like this, I'll be honest. And it's because largely I kind of wonder if it's just sort of selfish. Is this kind of self-indulgent? I don't like people, so I hope Jesus kills you. Okay? And you are going to see that there is going to be a bloodbath. We're not going to read about it yet, but it is going to be quite the bloodbath. And of course, for some of you, how would it have gone for you if Jesus came back 30 years ago? All right? Might not have gone so well for you, huh? What if he came back 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Might not have gone so well for you. Would it have? Well, I also realize, too, that I'm also being a little bit unfair. And one of the reasons why it's easy for me not to like it so much is because I haven't suffered incredible injustices from the hands of other people. And there are lots and lots of human beings, and particularly Christians, who have suffered great injustices from other human beings. And of course, I haven't, which has been wonderful, and I'm so thankful for that. But there are people who are crying out to God for him to end evil. Because evil is a scourge on this earth, and we all know it. And that is always the tension here in the book of Revelation, isn't it? There can be sometimes a way that we relate to it that is selfish and self-indulgent, that it actually can just mirror who we are on the inside. If we are filled with contempt for others, hatred for others, if we are filled with dislike, if we are judgmental, we may relate to this book as, I just cannot wait till it happens. All right? As if you're aligning with Jesus against people. But also we can, and I think this is more my thing, is we can be too quick and to think that we're compassionate just to let evil take its reign. Evil is a scourge on this earth. and we know it. But we know that it is not the people who are the problem. It is the people who are aligned with the dragon. You guys remember the dragon from last week? Who's Satan, that ancient serpent, right? The one who now has authority and power to deceive humanity and get them to align with him against God, even though they do not know that they are aligning with a spiritual evil from the heavenly places. All right? And we saw that last week, that he has been given some authority and that he particularly hates the people of God. But God is going to defeat Satan, but Satan is going to fight back. And that's what we're going to read about today. We saw the dragon in Revelation chapter 12. Today we're going to see the beast. And you're going to see some imagery in here of things that you have that still have quite a bit of a picture in pop or in our culture. All right? So let's just go ahead and read that. So this is so we see the dragon. He's got 1 foot on the shore and 1 foot on the sea. Okay? This is what John has seen. This is the symbol, the vision that he's been seeing right now. And this is where he starts in Revelation 13:1. I saw a beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, and with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth were like a lion's mouth. And to the dragon gave his power and his throne and great authority. And to it, the dragon gave his power and his throne and great authority. One of its heads seems to have a mortal wound, but its mortal wound was healed, and the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, for he had given his authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who can fight against it?" And the beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It opened up its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, that is, who dwell in heaven. Also it was allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them, and authority was given it over every tribe and people and language and nation, and all who dwell on earth will worship it. Everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword, with the sword must he be slain. Here is a call for the endurance and faith of the saints. And then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. So one comes out of the sea, one comes out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound was healed. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people, and by signs that it is allowed to work, and by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Also it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. And this calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666. All right, you guys heard about some of this stuff in here before? All right. Well, let's unpack this a little bit, all right, because this is really, really important. What you're going to see here is that Satan, the dragon, is going to do what only he can do, which is he cannot create, he can only spoil. He cannot create, he can only imitate. And by his imitation of God, the Creator and the Redeemer, is how he deceives. What do you see here? You see 3, don't you? You see a dragon, a beast, and a second beast. How many is that? Okay, so I'm holding it up right now. How many is that? 3. All right. How many is the Lord? How many persons is the Lord? 3. All right. Here you have an unholy trinity of all of the power of Satan here. And you see a beast, though slain, yet rises. Right? You see a wound, yet he still lives. What do you think about that? You think about the Jesus, you think about the resurrection, don't you? You think about a third beast. Now, we're going to learn about the third beast and the first beast. You're going to see them more in Revelation 17 and later. But you're going to see here, what about them? One is the important figure. Now, you're going to hear his name. Anybody know what that name is? Starts with an A. Antichrist, all right? You're going to hear his name. But the Antichrist has a second beast, a false prophet. Right? One who speaks about the important man, the man who has authority, the one who looks like he has a wound but yet lives. Who's that false prophet compared to? You have the Holy Spirit, isn't it? All right? Satan cannot create, he can only imitate. And now you have a unholy trinity of dragon, beast, and second beast, or beast of the sea, beast of the land. That's who you are introduced here. You're going to see more about them later. But what do we see about them here when we look at them? This beast rises out of the sea. Now the sea, you're going to see later, that when there is new heavens and new earth, there will be no sea. Now, any of you who like boating, any of you who like fishing, anybody who like going to the beach, you may think, oh my gosh, the new earth is going to be terrible. All right. Now, it doesn't mean that. What the sea is a picture of evil. Okay? The sea is a picture of evil. And in fact, a lot of us still, even if we have a beach vacation, we can't walk out very far into the ocean, can we? And we just do not see what lurks beneath, right? And we get scared of what's inside the sea. Now, that's a picture. That's a symbol of evil. And so the sea itself, of course, is not evil, but it is a picture. And this evil being who has 10 horns, 7 heads, 10 diadems on its horns, and blasphemous names on its head. Okay. Now, of course, if you want to look into this more, you can go really deep, of course, into all of the horns and the heads and the diadems, all right? Now, what you should know is for John, who is hearing this, a Jewish man, a few things would be coming to mind for him as he is seeing this. The first one would be the beast in the book of Daniel. And the beast are these governments in the book of Daniel, are these governments that are given power, and they are given power over the whole earth, but they are given power particularly over the people of God who are a part of that earth. And there are set times that these beasts, these governments, who all of them thought that they were the epitome of man, that they are going to rise up and they're going to think they're so great, but they're all going to fall. And another's going to rise in its place. And here you see a picture of this man, this beast, and he has all the authority of the dragon. He's going to look like he's got a resurrection. And mankind is going to see this Antichrist. Now, we're going to learn that later. We don't learn that yet here in Revelation 13. You're going to see this Antichrist, and they're going to say, finally, someone who can do something against this power that is coming against humanity. What is that? We've already seen a third of humanity has died. Plagues, powers, wars. They know that the Creator God is coming to defeat evil, and they are mistakenly thinking they have to fight back instead of repent. Everybody wants somebody who can get power to fight back. Imagine that. Imagine an alien power came into this world and just started lobbing bombs. They could manipulate nature in order to kill people and make terrible things happen. Not just kill them, but make them suffer. We've already read these in the trumpets. We've already read these in the seals, right? Imagine if you would believe this alien power is coming to do that. You would look for Will Smith, right, in Independence Day to come and fight the aliens, wouldn't you? All right? You would look for somebody, a hero who could fight back. Instead of giving the allegiance to the Lamb who was slain for them, they're looking to fight back. And here is finally a person, a power, a beast who has the power to fight back. And who is like the beast, they say? Who can fight against it? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever read your Bible? You know this is, again, just another cheap imitation. Who is like our God? And who can stand against him? Well, they're worshiping this beast because they're putting their hope in this Antichrist in order for them to hopefully keep their world, their life, their selves against this creator and redeeming God who wants to honestly show them kindness and his riches for all eternity. But they will reject that so that they can have themselves and what it is they wish, they desire. And of course, as a youth, in hearing this as a youth group, as a teenager, didn't we feel that same tension, right? All right, Jesus is coming back. But Lord, just wait a minute, all right? Just wait till we get married, all right? Wait till I can travel the world maybe a little bit. Wait is it until I can get what I want, okay? Even us as teenagers, we understood, even though we couldn't articulate it, the germ of what this world can offer self against the God who will fully and finally recreate it. All right, so who is this beast? He's given a mouth uttering blasphemous words, and he's allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. How long is 42 months? 3.5 years. All right, 3.5 years is a time of judgment. It is a time of pain. It is a time of trial, but it is not forever. It will be cut short. If you were a Jewish man like John was, and you were writing this to churches all around in what's now modern-day Turkey, there's going to be other Jewish people in there, along with non-Jewish people called Gentiles. They would know that this 3.5 years, especially when you're Jewish, has a really significant understanding for the Jewish people. You guys ever seen anybody with a menorah and with Hanukkah, right? What was this? This is a celebration of how the Jewish people triumphed in this time between the last prophet we have in the Old Testament, Malachi, and then Jesus comes. You have a guy named Antiochus Epiphanes, and he rises up, just like Daniel wrote about in the book of Daniel. You can read about this guy. You can read about who comes before him. You can read about how all this stuff is going to happen. Daniel predicted it before it happened, and then it happened. And what you see there is a man who rises up against God's people, against the Jewish people, and he will set himself up as a man to be worshipped, and he will put an image in the Holy of Holies, which is called an abomination which causes desolation. This happens before Jesus is born. This happens between the intertestamental period. It's called the intertestamental period. That's when it happens. And that's when you have the lamp that will not go out, right? And how Hanukkah, it was an incredible history. But you know how long that lasted? 42 months, 3.5 years. All right, 3.5 years. That's how long that lasted before Antiochus Epiphanes was defeated, that the temple could be cleansed, and that the people could be, again, somewhat self-governing until we have Rome. You can turn me down just a little bit because it's getting a little bit, my microphone's getting a little bit, yeah. All right, so when you hear this, it would be almost impossible at this time to not think of Antiochus Epiphanes. Now, of course, that's already happened. This is a vision of what is going to happen. But it is a picture for them to know that the dragon, Satan, has authority, has rule. He can give it to who he wants. He will give it. And that person can exercise authority, and he's going to use that authority to all those who are aligned against people who have their allegiance to Jesus. Okay? Think again, I could be totally wrong, but it's in my imagination. I could think of this, is that Jesus will be seen as an alien power, and everybody who has allegiance to him, and all the evil things they think he's doing to the world, they're going to want to kill these people who have allegiance to the Lamb during this time so that they can protect and preserve the earth and the world as they know it. Is that how it's going to be perceived? I don't know, but that's how I think about it in my mind. Okay? And that makes it a little bit plausible about why you would give so much authority to a beast and why you would worship a beast like this Antichrist. Now, we see that this beast has authority over all humanity. So this is going to be almost certainly a governmental figure. All right? You don't have authority over all tongues, tribes, people, and nations. Right? Unless you've got some firepower behind you. Right? You don't have any authority there unless you've got some military might. I could set myself up right now, get on the internet, and just say, I am ruler of this world. Okay? I can say that, right? But the problem with that is I will not be able to back it up, right? Okay? And it wouldn't take long to just show how pathetic that statement coming from me would be. But this person does have that power over every tribe, people, and language, and nation. Who's the person that has all authority over every person, language, people, and nation? Who is the person that is making a people for himself from every people, tongue, tribe, and nation? Jesus. Again, Satan cannot create, he can only imitate. And he's doing it to deceive people. And all the earth will worship this person because of their power and their ability to do something about this Jesus, this Lamb. And it's going to affect all those Christians who are alive at the time. And basically here it says in verse 10 that there will be a slaughter of Christians. Some will be taken captive, and this is kind of a weird little poem in here, isn't it? If anyone is taken captive to captivity, he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword must he be slain. Here is a call for the endurance and faith of the saints. What a Christian would need to hear when they read this is that, yes, you will die. You will be killed by the beast. But it is not outside of the providence and purview of your Father in heaven. And you need to know that you need to endure. And you need to endure to the end, to your death. God is in charge. There is not a governmental figure. Beasts are ultimately not in charge. And this is actually why I think when you ask this question, who is this beast? Is there a person now who could be the beast? And there's a lot of people, particularly online, who love to speculate about this. And when they speculate about this, it gets a lot of likes and shares. And it's a very interesting thing about who this person might be. But I want to let you know, there has always been a beast for every generation of humanity that has lived since John wrote this down. Okay? That's actually, I think, what John sees, a beast that looks as though slain, but still keeps coming back. Right? You would think Hitler, what did Hitler say? There is going to be 1,000-year reign, the Third Reich. If you've read some of this book, you would see that Satan can't create, he can only imitate. The reign of the Third Reich lasted 12 years. 12 years. But have other beasts arisen after Hitler? Have there been other beasts? Have there been Stalins? And have there been Pol Pots? And has there been Mao Zedongs? And has there been all kinds? Right. Well, you think you defeat one beast, one Nero, right? But then you will have a Caligula after him. Look them up. They're not very fun reads. Brutal people who said they were gods, right? Now, but these beasts keep arising. Why? Because Satan has some authority. He has some power. And he's always going to wield it. And he's going to wield it into deceiving humanity that God is not good. And he's going to trick them and scare them. The reason why you know he's not good, because he's not all about you. You, who should be the center of your life. You who should be the center of your existence. Not God, not your Creator, not your Redeemer, not Jesus Christ, His Son, who's the very image of the Father, so that when you see Him, you know the Father. Not Him, you. Your money, your power, your status, your wealth, your pleasure. You. You're a God. And we don't set up images too much anymore here in the United States of America, do we? Of images to worship, do we? We don't do that very often, do we? But are we obsessed with the mirror? Are we obsessed with how we appear at work and in our family? Are we obsessed with how we appear online? Are we obsessed with self? Well, yeah. Sometimes you don't need a statue to be an idolater. All you need to do is put yourself and what you want at the center of your life. Well, and this beast, he's going to, or she is going to, I think, it's probably going to be a he. Probably, if it's going to be one person. But there's always a beast. There's always a beast, and they're going to in every generation, that beast gets taken care of, but man, another one arises, doesn't it? But now you have a second beast. And this beast comes from the earth, and this beast is the first beast hype man. Okay? And he's a good hype man. And he's such a good hype man that he can do signs and wonders. Again, if people at this time period when this is happening, which we often call the Great Tribulation, it's the final week of Daniel, the last 7 years. You got 3.5 years, you got 3.5 years, right? You got the 3.5 years where you have those two witnesses, remember that? You got 3.5 years where you got this happening here. You got 7 years. You got that last week of Daniel, which is a week is 7 years in the imagery, okay? You've got that here. This is a great tribulation. And this person can make fire come down from heaven to earth. Again, if you think that it is Jesus who is attacking, and you got somebody who can send fire from heaven to earth, you're going to be like, all right, this is our guy. And that guy's going to say, no. It's the beast from the sea who's our guy. I'm his hype man, all right? I'm his PR agent, right? I'm his right-hand man. I'm his prime minister. And that's who this guy is going to be. And he's going to deceive them, and people are going to make images of the first beast. And he's going to be given, and this is going to help him get power in order for him to be able to kill the people of God who are alive at the time. And also, in order to enforce this, in order to help things along, to get humanity in line, would you just say, it's not super easy to get human beings to follow you? Anybody with you? Anybody have kids? Could you imagine? I mean, you're like, I don't even know how to get my kids to do what I want them to do, right? How is this person, how are these beasts able to do this? How are we going to get everybody in line? Well, they're going to say, you cannot buy or sell unless you have our mark, which is the mark of the beast. And I think it's important that John says this here. He says, this calls for wisdom. Okay? Let the one who is understanding calculate the number of the beast. This is verse 18. Let them calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So John says, this takes wisdom to understand this. And a lot of times, I think most of us misunderstand what he means there. He's not saying, hey, you got to have some wisdom to find out who exactly this person is. What he's actually, I think, saying is, look at it. Look what is actually saying here. Already we have been introduced to people who have a mark on their hands and on their foreheads. Who is it? It's the 144,000. Who are the 144,000? They are it is a picture of the multitudinous billions of the people of God who worship the Lamb. They are marked on their forehead. They are marked on their hands. For Jesus Christ, they're in his family. The devil cannot create. He can only, what? Imitate. And here is my mark on your forehead. And here is my mark on your wrist. And it is the mark of the beast. It is a 666. What's the number of God? 7. What's the number? You have lots of things in threes that show completion, right? Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, right? You have 666. The ultimate man, the quintessential man, the one whose self is the reference for everything. Man is God. And I am the image of the picture of the strength of man, and you will get that image on your forehead and you will get that image on your hand when you want to align yourself against the Lamb of God. It is because you worship self, you will get that image. A lot of people, for all time, of course, have been really worried that you might get this image on accident, right? That there's some chip there's some chip that somebody's going to say, you got to get this in your head, or you got to get the tattoo, and you got to get this thing, or whatever it's going to be. And then, we look at Elon Musk, and he's got some sort of brain implant thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, here it comes, right? And it's and as if you might get this thing by accident. I want you to know, you don't have to worry. You're never going to get this thing by accident, all right? But the reason you would get this thing is because of the same old story, that you will not obey God, you will not bow your knee to Jesus, you will not see him as come from God, you will not see him as loving you and wanting to bring you into his family, to restore you to who you were meant to be, to that you were created to be in relationship with God. You will only see him as a threat because he might not give you what you want. And I don't want to hear what you have to say, Jesus, about how I'm supposed to treat my spouse, how am I supposed to treat my coworkers, how am I to give up self and take up my cross. and follow you. It'll be the same old story. And it would be right as rain for you to get this thing on your hand and on your forehead, because you're already marked. You're already marked that you are God, and you will fight against God in order to get what you want. Now, this number 666, it is the quintessential man. You know, I actually just 2 days ago, there is a hike in Colorado Springs. I did this hike on Thursday night, and it's Bear Creek. Trail number is 666. All right. And you know what this, I think the hike, you know what this hike is called? It's not called a great hike for man. All right. It's called the Devil's Pathway. And I did it by myself. I went on the Devil's Pathway. But you know what? I knew that that's not the Devil's Pathway at all. Why? Because the number 666 is the number of man. It's the number of man. 666, if people parade that around and that seems demonic, and it is, except for it doesn't have a focus on demons. It has a focus on you. So anytime you hear someone say the most important thing in your life is for you to discover who you are, lean into that. Reject those who would not affirm and assert who you are. That is a message from 666. Okay. Man all the way down. Man deceived by the devil. You know, I was like, I had no fear taking that hike. It was actually getting dark. I had no fear that I was going to run into the devil. All right. I do sometimes get afraid I might run into some weirdo man, right? Okay. But I wasn't afraid of the devil. And you shouldn't be either. But you should be afraid of self, your self-worship, what it is that you want. And every Christian in here can say amen, because you know that it was your demand for what it is you want, and no one will cross you, no one will criticize me, no one will stand against me. And if you do, I won't forgive you. If you do, I will oppose you. If you do, I will fight you. And you will say again and again, this has been the trouble of my life, won't you? That's what every Christian is going to say. But when I heard that even though I live for self, Jesus died for me so that I might not live for self anymore, but for him who was raised from the dead. And now I have a power and a strength in my life that is not accordance with self, which is this empty, vacuous appetite of nothing that can never be satisfied. But when I found Jesus, there was a love that filled me and strengthened me. And what it did for my mind and for my heart was it, in even just the littlest way, got me to stop thinking about me and my family, and it got me thinking about other people and loving them like Christ loves me. And when I do that, it is joy overflowing. Do we do it perfectly? Absolutely not. Can we go back to self? Absolutely we can. But when we go and we turn to this man who died for us and was raised again, we do not see the imitation, do we? We see the real thing. And there is a little power in self, isn't there? There is a little, the idea of self-actualization, of self-fulfillment. There is a little bit of power to it, isn't it? There is. Why? Because it's an imitation. It's not the real thing. It's a counterfeit. And the counterfeit can look real. And only good counterfeits do. But in the end, you find that it does not pay. It only costs. Am I right about that? Yeah. Well, we're going to see people whose hearts are going to be hardened, and they're going to harden their hearts because they're going to say, it's me all the way down.